Hey, what's up guys? So here we are back again for some more fun on the Python BACnet Stack Playground. Um, okay, so we've been learning for quite a while now about Python, a little bit of computer science theory. We've gotten all the way up to data structures and some of the daily AI generated mini lessons. And we still have to do day 27 for for algorithms, which I even want to enhance to get into fault detection algorithms for HVAC. So it's coming. So when we run out of vibe coding ideas, which might be kind of hard to do, we can switch to back to computer science theory. So so bear with me. So where we left off yesterday, we're still on Vibecode App 8, the diy-bacnet. This might be a work in progress, so I have a feeling we're going to probably work on this one for a while, and then maybe it could be Flask as the web app framework, web app backend, and then we talked about the diy-bacnet-server, which was basically another web app, a backend API that runs all asynchronous Python async IO environment, which is also Backpipes 3. So Fast API and Backpipes 3 work well together. They're modern asynchronous async IO environments. And then we're going to make another web app in Flask, and then serve HTML files with Flask. And then, we'll probably be working on this one for a little while, and then maybe eventually I might do this again in more in like a React, like a really professional web app, which would be written in React in the front end. Maybe have two, actually Vibecode App 9. We could probably have 3 Docker containers running, where one would be the React front end. Then there would be a Fast API for just what we're using Flask for right now, and then there would still be the diy-bacnet server. So there'd be, I think, Vibecode App 9. I'm kind of daydreaming, it'll be 3 Docker containers, and even more bulletproof, more professional looking web app development. And then we can also learn a ton about security too, web app security. So keep in mind, this is almost turning into how can you make a building automation system with AI. So like some other GitHub repositories of mine, is kind of turning into like a model context GitHub repository, where someday you'll be able to just point your like AI tool, OpenClaw or Claude, whatever, just aim it at here and then chat with it, like make me a building automation system that can do X, Y, Z. And then once you get enough web app testing under your feet and you're expert in building automation systems already, you can validate that yes, this is something cool and free. So that's where I'm kind of going with this, and let's get into it now. Anyone, please reach out on the Discord if you have any questions or you want help getting set up. More than happy to help anyone get set up. It's I required a ton of help getting set up, so don't feel bad about it takes time to learn all this stuff too, and it's really hard. But just keep in mind, I think like really hot skill sets of the future will be that domain level expertise, which if you're watching this YouTube, high likelihood that you're a building automation expert already, perhaps a field technician like I was for 10 years, and you couple that with some IT skill sets in Linux and networking, and couple that further with AI assisted software development, that is a hot skill set, in my opinion. So so BossPy, so yesterday where we left off, we grabbed all of the files from the BossPy through VS Code, which we shall fire up in a second, and then we through SCP, through secure copy protocol, VS Code just loaded everything back onto the Windows computer, and then we fired up Cursor and did some heavy lifting with the AI IDE. So now it's time to do the opposite. We'll zip it and then we'll SCP it back onto the Pi and check it out. And we'll probably do this dance back and forth about, hopefully not more than 5 times, 5 different YouTube videos until we have something cool. But who knows? You know, it's just fun. It's a learning experience. I think it's kind of cool. So where else was I going with this? And then we also learned yesterday is my Raspberry Pi is too old to use the AI coding IDE on it directly, so that kind of sucks. Both OpenClaw and Cursor said that the architecture of this Raspberry Pi, the older Model B plus Raspberry Pi, I probably got probably solid over 5 years ago for sure. So it's a dated model, so it kind of stinks. But if you have like a new Raspberry Pi 4 or 5, you could probably just run Cursor right on this, and then you don't have to skip this dance back and forth. So it'd be way faster. So this is kind of the old-fashioned way of doing things, which is, I guess, for a learning experience, it's not that bad. Okay, so I am just going to go to the Python BACnet Stack Playground. So I have this locally on my computer, and you can always go to GitHub and download a zip file of it. I would really recommend learning GitHub. This is learning Git. That's a skill that you can put on your resume, even having a profile, and then make some cool things. A lot of people ask on Reddit in the Learn Python area of Reddit, what should I do? What should I learn? And just start building stuff. Once you practice a little bit of the computer science 101 algorithms and data structures, which I think is important. I personally believe in that to start building stuff with the AI IDE and just like a little bit of computer science theory that will make you go leaps and bounds over someone that does not have that on algorithms and data structures. So we still have to get into day 27 on the algorithms here. So even if you want to just do this kind of crash course, and all the other videos are kind of me fobbling through here, just a little bit of Python. We stopped here to kind of play around with more vibe coding tools. But there's videos on here, and that's how I learned how to code too, was just by watching people on YouTube before all the AI craze. Okay, so I might close out of that. So here we are with our schematic, which I'll be modifying. Okay, so what I might do is, okay, so this is my local file directory of the GitHub, and wow, I made it look really weird. What the heck? I was just trying to zoom in on it, but extra large icons. Okay, so we're in Vibecode app 8, and then I'm just going to zip this. So in Windows, you just do a compress to zip. Might be hard to see. So it's just going to create a zip of that, and then we're going to shoot it over to the Raspberry Pi from the Windows computer to the Pi through secure SCP, through secure copy protocol. Looks like it's still zipping. So I'm going to open up terminal here. Where are we? Okay, it was hiding on me. Okay, so if like on Windows, I mentioned about 20 times already about get the Windows terminal tool from the Windows App Store, and then you just right click in a folder directory, and it'll open up terminal right in that directory. So this is the same directory, C drive, all the way up to Vibecode app 8, and I'm going to do an ls. So there's our zip file. So I'm just going to type in SCP, which works in PowerShell and Linux, bash in Linux, diy-bacnet.zip. You just tab complete it as you start typing, and then yeah, we should probably go over to the BAS Pi. So I'm going to log in to the BAS Pi with SSH. I could do a Control R and yeah, there it is. Find the last time I logged in. So I have on my BAS Pi, I have SSH authentication through SSH keys, through security keys, through it's like it's a way to authenticate into Linux. You can do it through keys instead of username and password. It's through like a hashed key, same thing that encrypts data. You can use it to authenticate on devices, and it makes it really fast. It's really easy to do that on the Raspberry Pi imaging tool, Raspbian Imager, Etcher, or whatever. It's a couple checkboxes, and you can set up authenticating into your Raspberry Pi with keys. So I'm also doing this. I know some people just starting out. There's no desktop environment installed on this Raspberry Pi. It's just a light image. So some people just starting out, which I did for a long time as well, is like you can plug a monitor right into this Raspberry Pi and do the Raspbian desktop environment. But that's actually like a really heavy lift for a really small computer, is to do that, render a desktop environment. So this Raspbian light image that's running on this is just terminal only. It's just the through bash SSH. That's all we get. If I plugged a monitor into this, all I would see is this. It's all it comes with it, but it's a really lightweight way of playing around with your Raspberry Pi. So like once you get used to this, like practice just using a light image only in SSH, no desktop environment on your Linux devices, unless you're playing around with like a desktop computer for Linux, with Linux Mint or something. But my Raspberry Pis and my little servers I have for this kind of stuff, I always use the light image. That's what the pros do, I think. So I am actually going to remove this. This is old, before we did the heavy lifting with Cursor. So I think I can do a sudo remove rm-r diy-bas list again. Okay, so we removed it, and then let's shoot it over. So in here, I'm back in PowerShell, scp diy-bas.zip, and then the only thing I like to do is just kind of copy this. You can do it by IP address, but this is Ben at the computer name. You can also do this by IP address right there. So then I'm just going to copy that and then copy that and paste. So scp.diy-bas from the Windows directory from here, and then we're gonna shoot it over to the BAS Pi right in the home directory. There it goes. So got a success rate on that, so I am just going to close, and then if we do ls, we should see it. There it is. So I'm just going to do unzip diy-bas. Alright, so unzipping in Linux, and then I'm just going to remove that zip file. So rm diy-bas.zip. Okay, so that's deleted. So now we should be able to get in here. So I'm just going to change directory. I haven't forgot how to look. What do we have? So now we're in Linux. So maybe we should go to the project. I forgot to do this. There's probably a couple of commands to run. Oops, wrong project. So we're in, where are we? We have to go to the Python BACnet Stack Playground. So we're in the vibe code app 8. I just think like looking at this through the browser will make it a little bit easy. So okay, so got some heavy lifting by Cursor yesterday. So we'll probably have to make a list of, okay, so this is our command here to test it out. Okay, so what I might do is just list the Docker containers, Docker PS. Okay, so the diy-bacnet server is running, and that's our BACnet gateway. So if we actually did a BACnet discover, let's just do this. So right now I'm on the Windows computer. Got to select my NIC card for the Windows computer, and then I'm gonna just discover the BAS Pi just to make sure our diy-bacnet server is running. It's not running. I don't see it. I might have to look into that. So I would expect to see, I might have a conflicting BACnet address with this. My other thing I'm playing around with is OpenFTD project, and I might have used that same BACnet instance ID. So I might have to look into that. But let's just check out the web app first, and then we can troubleshoot BACnet later. Okay, so where are we? We're here. So we just have one Docker application running, and then we can just, in theory, do this. So this is going to copy this .env file, which we talked about briefly. This will set a couple little security keys for us. And then it'll install a Python virtual environment, which we've done before in this repo, install the requirements for the Flask library and something else that it probably needs. And then it'll just hit this run.py. And it even has a Docker command too, so I bet this will be enough to get us going. All right, here we go. Big money, big money. Knock on wood. Unable to symlink. Okay, so now it's giving this environment that I don't know if that worked. When in doubt, you can also just copy this stuff into ChatGPT now. See what ChatGPT says. You can even give ChatGPT a link. I think it's just going to say that this the Python virtual environment step failed. Weird. I'm pretty sure we do have all this. So a little more robust command we have here. Maybe we'll have to update the directions to try this. Seems kind of odd that it's installing like the Python library to make virtual environments. This little app, this little note here is saying that Python is included in every version of Linux, but some versions of Linux you cannot use the Python that's included with the Linux software, because potentially I think you can break things in the Linux side of in the operating system distributor. So like Raspberry and Linux apparently does not let you play around with Python that's built into Linux, so that's why you have to create a virtual environment. So let's see what far I got. Okay, so this will take a minute or two for it to run. I have a feeling today we'll just be making a prompt for Cursor to keep iterating until it's complete. We'll just have to push Cursor over and over and over and keep on doing this dance back and forth. So we could actually probably start that process now. Let's fire up another session of Cursor. Okay, so we're just gonna go to, let's go here. I think this should be saved. Maybe, hold up, I might, which networking services should be restarted? I'm not entirely sure. That was actually a pop-up screen from, not from Cursor, but from the process of getting the Raspberry Pi booted up. So, all this stuff looks pretty normal. So here we go. So I'm just going, okay, so this is our last session with Cursor, because it has a saved memory in here. So we're just gonna say, we're just gonna tell it to keep on modifying this. There's our zipped version. I'll zoom in here so people can see the, zoom in. Do that one more time. Okay, so we're in here. So right now, Cursor is running here. So we shot the files over here, and then we're installing all of the requirements to run it on the old Raspberry Pi, which it should be able to do. And then we're just going to check out this app and, you know, see what kind of updates we'll want. And then we're just going to tell Cursor to go nuts and then keep on iterating, go, 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 go. And then we'll probably repeat this session a whole bunch of times. So like when we're looking at Cursor, we're on the Windows computer, and we're just going to tell it to modify them, you know, these, keep modifying your files, and then we'll just delete it out again and then resend over. So like, even though we're modifying the files here, they are running here, but we won't be able to see that until tomorrow's video when we'll test it out and see how well it did. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so we got fired up here. So this is, the Flask app is running here. Let's check it out. Okay, so this is what we got. diy-bacnet supervisor. Okay, so right now we just have to tell, make a list of things for Cursor to fix. So for one thing, I'm going to tell it to, for the README, I've changed the local version. I'm just gonna say, maybe let's copy all of this. Okay, so we're back in vibe code app 8. So I'm just gonna drag that in here and then drag the README. Just saying, please update for this for better run directions. Okay, now we'll just have to keep on. Okay, what do we see here? What looks, okay, discovery, what do we got? So let's do who is discovery. Who is button, doesn't even work. Look at that. Let's go into the developer tools. Oh boy, we have lots of fixes to get here. I almost wonder though if this is in browser console when firing it up. I almost kind of wonder. Let's open up another SSH session. there's a step that it's looking for. CD diy-bacnet. So we want to look at this. There's our .env file right here. So I did a list ls-a, which will show these dot files. So I'm just going to print or cat this .env. Okay, so we might need to update this. Okay, so if I, let's get this. So I'm just going to change directory into the .bacnet-server. So now I'm changing directory. I'm changing directory from this container into this container in the Linux tree. And then let's do this again. And then I'm just going to cat the .env. And then we just need to make sure that this, yeah, it's different. It's old. So this is like the RPC, this is the API key. Yesterday when we dialed into the 192. When we dialed into, this is the wrong one. We're actually on .12. But when we dialed into here and then we had the authorize, that's with the API bearer API key. That is a bearer API key. That is actually this right here. So the Flask app too, when they talk back and forth, it needs its API key for it's a little security mechanism, kind of makes somewhat of a secure app. So I'm just going to keep that there. Then I'm just going to modify this file. I'm just going to modify this one again. I'm just going to copy that. .env. So this is a little text editing tool built into Linux called Nano, and then I'm going to modify this API key with this one. So I might just copy this now. Control C. I don't know why I didn't use VS Code. I think yesterday I was using VS Code, but this is like the old-fashioned way. So then we just use Nano. Control O. Exit. Okay, now I'm kind of curious to restart this baby. I'm really curious if I need this whole command or not. Maybe not. Let's just try run.py. Okay. Buttons, do they work? No errors here. And we do have some buttons. So, okay, so you can see here that it is trying to fetch the diy-bacnet container, but it's throwing some errors. Error 500, that's internal server error. All right, so we got some errors. So we can feed that into Cursor. So I'm going to say I forgot to copy the diy-bacnet-server API key, and when I restarted run.py, which is actually this guy, still get these errors in the browser console. Can there be better logs that the diy-bacnet-server is offline or online? So I'm just going to say this little route right here, you don't need authentication. This route does not need auth and can be used to ensure the application is online, that the Flask and diy-bacnet-server are communicating, and then better logging for auth, bearer key, token issues would be nice as well. Okay, so, gosh, sorry guys, I have a feeling we did not get very far. What else can we ask for it to fix? Polling. Save polling config. Maybe we should just have it stop here. Then we still have our schedule, which I think we tested before. So yeah, we're getting there. Gosh, what should we do? Should we ask it? Maybe we should ask something on the polling configuration. Maybe we should say something. I might even say, please update the polling configuration where data changes to yellow background if the data is stale and hasn't been updated, and red if the device is offline, sort of like a typical BAS. Also, we should try to use a modern database, all Docker for data, even though by default we only need 1 month's data at max for a supervisory level device. For a supervisory level device, please make easy bootstrapping, perhaps a bootstrap or the bash script that does all of this automatically and even grabs bare keys from sibling Docker containers, sibling containers like the diy-bacnet-server. It says also supposed to be lightweight to run on resource constraint devices like a Raspberry Pi or a similar embedded Linux. And we also need SD card burnout preventions. Please enhance the application. Okay, so I'm gonna just let Cursor go nuts again. and then we'll keep on getting there. So this will be something worth a while, I promise. So like tomorrow we'll do another round of this. We'll do shoot the files back over to the Raspberry Pi and bootstrap it again. So I think let's just try this. So we'll get there. I'm very confident that we have all the pieces of the pie, especially these AI tools are getting so good that it can build really robust software platforms, and we just need it to be our domain level of expertise, which we already are. This is pretty fun. So tomorrow let's build another. Let's get this like. I would like to get up to the point where we're only missing the email dial-out, and then after that's working, we'll just have to make some security features for a login, which shouldn't be very hard to do either. And then we have a full-blown supervisory level controller, like a soft JACE, basically. Hope you guys are liking this. I think this stuff is kind of exciting. So thanks for following along, and please feel free to drop any comments for anything that's confusing or that we're missing out on. I still think the computer science 101 and the Linux and the networking is all soak in as much content as you can and all of that stuff. So all right, here it is. Here's Cursor going nuts, and I will probably see you guys tomorrow.